McKellar here again for another Top Split Racing replay for this 2022 Season 3 tilt. Up to round 10 here at the Nordschleife. There you go. Big track, big challenge. Big challenge, of course, with the grid as well. We've got some of the best in the business going around. Luquetta's on pole for Saybelt. Rodriguez for Astro. Yeah, Team Racing's on the front row with him. Adam miles ahead. Yeah, three of the top guns going around. Guy Kawabe back in the series for this week. He loves Nordschleife. That's why he's back in the main, I would think. The Japanese stalwart. I managed to stick it on P5. It's probably representative. I do struggle here, although I've put some work in to try and be able to cling on to the guys up front, because that's, you know, this track really does exaggerate. You know, if you're half a second off or 3/10 off on a normal track, you're 2 seconds off here just because of the nature of it. Russell Clark, this is one of his good tracks. He's here at starting on the third row next to me. The rest behind us there, Komalainen, David Caro, that name, I haven't fixed it up in this version of the overlay. Stockmale Morawicki, he's a regular in SNL, of course. Mark Roberts, another regular in the Skippy series. Darren Tune, we know from Aussie Car, of course. And now becoming a regular in SNL is the Wildlife Warrior, Goose Juice Racing's Ryan Chenoweth. Over the page, Sean Doyle for White Knuckle, another Aussie Car regular. And the rest there, Hertail I've raced with before. The others I am less familiar with. But look, 4,300 strength of field, so it was pretty big. This was the race just before Skipjack, actually, for those playing at home. I know there was a bit of interest as to which one I might choose to do, because there was some pretty epic racing throughout, actually, for this week. So look, why don't we get underway? So here we are, turn one at the Nords. This is where it all begins, of course. Makes sense, turn one, it's where it starts. Look, the goal here for me, I spent a lot of time, and I can recommend this, I spent a lot of time practicing the first sector. I actually did a couple of ghost races, and one of them, Kawabe, who's just in front of me, he was in, and I got to tell you, it was like he was launched out of a cannon through this first sector. And it really shocked me, and I thought, oh, okay, there's something to that, because the racing I've done here, often I struggle, particularly out of this corner right here, and it really sets you up for this first straight. And if you're out of the draft here at this point in the race, and the guys in front, like they are here, are quicker than you, like they are quicker than me, you're done. Your race is over in terms of competing for the top few positions. So I spent a good deal of time practicing that first sector, and you can see it paid off in this instance. I was able to stick in the draft. Even, look, it can be as simple as the way the sessions are set up here. When you load into the server for a race, there's anything up to 5 or 6 minutes, depending on how quickly you load in, to warm up, because there's no attached quali session. As Russell looks on the outside, I got a bit nervous there. I think he was just under pressure from behind. I don't know if he actually wanted to have a look there. I was glad I took the inside line there, just to give Russell the room to brake a bit deeper on the outside if he needed to, or if he missed the braking there. But things like that is what I put in the basket of making your own luck. You can see the draft here, I'm already lifting. And this is a big checkup point right here. Very big checkup point. You need to be very aware of it, particularly on lap 1 if there's a big pack. Or any lap if there's a big pack, it will check up massively here. Anyway, as I was saying, even in that session just before the warm-up, or in the warm-up before the race, I would do 5 or 6 runs through to that corner that I mentioned before that first long straight, just so that I could go through the first series of corners flat out before you have to lift for the third gear right-hander. And then, look, in my practice sessions, if I wasn't doing a quali, if I was just doing a practice session, I would practice the first half of the circuit. So down this downhill section here, right through to the right-hander before the uphill long straight that we'll see in a minute. And I found that because there's a couple of weak points in there for me, and I spent this week sort of focusing on working on them, just with a view to this race and the race after it, and if I do any more racing up to the 4 that I've allowed myself each week because of the points situation and how it works in iRacing, that, you know, I just wanted to target those weak areas because it was so important, because as soon as you're off the back here, yeah, look, it's over. And this is another weak point here through there, the exit of that previous left-hander, and through here I was struggling as well. So objective reached. I'm still in draft, just. And when I say just, you can see I'm not pulling any closer. I'm staying at about half a second, and if anything, it's growing down this straight. And it just seems to be a thing. The long draft trains of the skippies are almost a thing of the past. Because you see, look, it'll be in a little while, but I'm really in draft here at under half a second. But you see, I'm not gaining on the car in front of me. I'm gaining on the guy potentially on the front of the pack relative. And now you'll see, as it all sort of fans out up ahead, halfway up here, this is where you start to reel them in. But you can see it's like hundreds of meters before it kicks in. And if you've got corners and stuff where you don't get this massive draft, you can see I can lift now because it's all checking up. Here is a massive checkup point as well, right here at this kink. It's remarkable. 4th gear, flat out. Some people stay in 5th, and it's a massive checkup point. Anyway, in the drafting parts, at least, if you're not right on the tail, and I reckon if you're 4th or 5th in this pack, it's really easy. As Russell again on the outside, I don't know if he was looking there or what. He's got a couple of tracks that he's really quite good at, and I say that with all due respect. I don't mean to sound condescending in that. Bathurst one, and the Nordschleife is another. Russell has some decent pace, and he's right in this one as a result. I was very pleased for him. Not so pleased that I want to let him by, because, you know, I want to do well as well, but I was very pleased to see him there. And he put some yards in this week too. He did a lot of racing. And it showed here tonight. He was competitive. So, and I hope it felt good too, because I know for me it feels good when I'm hanging with these guys, because these guys are literally the best in the business. So, although no Christian Perez here this week, I assume he's having a week off. I don't know. Maybe he's like me. I love driving this track. I don't enjoy racing this track. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I feel like you are racing so much against the track that, oh, sorry, and I should say this is another point where I struggle through here. And once you crest the hill after the first carousel, through those twisty bits, yeah, for some reason I just really struggle. I wasn't able to put the time into that one, because into that specific sector, because of you can't pick your sectors to sort of just do like you potentially could in other games, but here you've got to drive all the way around just to get that little taste of it. And, you know, at 8 minutes a throw, that's a pretty time expensive exercise. Anyway, lost my train of thought from before. We'll just kick on. So this twisty section here that we've just come out of, I've tended to struggle with, so I was pleased that I was only about half a second, but you can see I'm not gaining until right at the end here where we're approaching, and you can see it really kicks in there when they stop drafting and it all compresses and they all start lifting and staying aligned. At that point, I can use the draft to actually catch up rather than hang on. So you've really got to think about things like that as we come through the second carousel. Another real death trap if you're not paying attention. And then we come to the final 2 corners, flat out and 4th. Open it up in the midsection, turn in quite early to hug the inside. If you can, minimise scrub and minimise the rear stepping out. And then we play the lottery, the draft lottery, for the first time round. Anyway, I don't know, like I said, I like to drive this track. Racing it, this is really, depending on how things go, this is really where you race it, this final runway like straight. Oh, Kawabe out on the grass, and he's come back on and collect. Oh, look at the mirror. There was massive rolling, and oh, there was a lot of carnage in the back. We might have a look at that at some point. That D on the timing is actually David Caro from memory. His name does funny things with the overlays. Surprisingly, Kawabe, perhaps surprisingly, number one, Mr. Clark got through. He's sitting there in first. He was in sixth, I was in fifth, and we're sitting 1 and 2. I think Russell might have got a bit nervous. You can see straight away he was missed the apex there in the final corner. I don't know if he was nervous or he was surprised or what. Unfortunately, Kawabe came back on and hit Luqueta, and there was some damage out of that for a number of people. Thankfully, we got through and we played the lottery and won that time. And again, yeah, Russell. That's not his. He's normally much quicker through there. I think he was genuinely nervous. A couple of times I actually applied brake where I wouldn't normally, and excuse me. Again, right here. Well, that was a massive checkup. Thankfully, the guys behind were aware of it. Now, interesting. You see, Manu Luqueta in P6 managed to hang on. He's done that more than once. I don't know if he carried much damage, but. I was hoping we could get away, but in this field, Luqueta absolutely has the pace on everyone in my books, and he could bridge a gap no problems. I think Russell. Oh, you can see we did that pretty clumsy. Russell said in the chat, it said go left. I didn't see it, and I was trying to go right. I was actually hoping that someone like Adam, in particular, or Rodriguez, could come through and lead us, because I was hoping they would take us away or keep us away from Manu in P6 if at all possible. I didn't want to be on front of this, and I could tell by the way Russell was going that he didn't want to be on front of it either. You can see it was interesting. As soon as he got in behind me, he relaxed, and you can see he's right on my tail, no problems, hanging there. The draft helps and everything, but it was almost an immediate difference. It was really interesting. A lot of pressure in leading a 4K plus field with some of the drivers in here, and you can see in the mirrors there the gap was Luqueta on front now. The gap was already starting to close, and it's they were back to just over a second. Off the back end draft, and it was only a matter of time at that point, particularly with me on front. Manu's got probably 2 seconds a lap on me here, which is, like I was saying, I think in the intro, the way I look at the pace difference here, you might look up at a quali scoreboard or something like that and see 2-3 seconds difference, right? But look at it this way: if at a standard track, even a big one, like a Bathurst or something like that, it's 2.5 minutes long, or 2 minute long Grand Prix circuit. If you're half a second off the best guys in the world, you come here, it's 4 times the length. So to be 2 seconds off is, about right in that sort of context. So, it's just really disheartening to see yourself that far off. I mean, I know my best quality time was an 8:08. I was desperate to get an 8:07. I had an 8:07 in me, a mid 8:07. I just couldn't quite nail it. And then you look at the top guys and they're doing 8:05s, mid 8:05s, and so I'm 2 to 2.5 seconds off. And it can be really disheartening, along with how challenging and heartbreaking this track can be at times. But yeah, I do encourage you to think about, in context, it's all relative, and that's about right. This is a super technical track. It requires so many elements at some of the different circuits that we race here in the skips, whether it be the commitment of a street circuit because the walls are so close and there's no margin for error once you're off the tarmac, or just the skill in some of the technical sections. Just generally, there's the, when it comes to racecraft, it's the drafting and the pack racing that you've got to be, aware of. Here I'm sort of positioning my car. I don't want to go too far back in the pack. I actually wanted to be in front of Russell if I could, because as good as he was going, Adam was a risk of dropping us. I know they were a risk of dropping me, and I figured it was the same for Russell as well, particularly if he and I ended up on the rear. The front three were always a risk. So having you know, Russell in front. I didn't want to let the other two through because, yeah, I know if Adam and Russell got away, or Adam got away, I know having the two behind me in my back pocket in Rodriguez and Lucetta, they could catch them up if needs be. And you can see with Lucetta on our pack now, we've dropped David Caro in P6. It's very, very interesting. He couldn't even hold draft with Manu. Very interesting. So we're down to a pack of 5 racing for the win. Well, when I say racing for the win, there's a long way to go. It's only lap 2 of 3. And you say 2 of 3 is a long way to go, but yeah, that's the nature of this circuit, right? So strategically, like I said, having the two behind me at this point with Adam in front and potentially able to drop me, particularly through this twisty section, I felt a bit more comfortable. When I say comfortable, confident that, like I said, if Adam managed to break away, we could release the hounds, so to speak, behind us and hopefully hang on to them as they caught him up. With all due respect to Adam, he is very, very fast. I was confident that that Manu in particular, Lucetta, who's currently in P5, could catch him, which is remarkable in of itself, because the margins between those guys are so tight. Typically, this circuit just seems to accentuate it. Rodriguez right on my tail. He's got a habit of doing that in races. And it was fine here. I was actually eyes forward. I wasn't too worried about it. The big draft section, you see, we close right up. Look at that, like a rubber band pulling us in. As long as you're in draft in that bit, it's essentially a straight, even though there's a lot of curves. It's a flat out straight, and it's actually a really strong draft through there as a result. All right. Second carousel, spit out a fraction early, although that seems to be a preferred line of many at the moment, or at least this week. Double fourth gear right hander, kiss the apex, flow out, turn in early as we said, minimise scrub. I'm not a big one for ducks and drakes. I just tend to like to pin it and go and think about stuff as we go. I do like the right hand side of the circuit because it gives the inside into the key third to last corner. Here in shuffling of the decks, I was really just hoping to be in the top three, maybe fourth. The real risk was the front three, or the three quick guys in Miles, Lucetta and Rodriguez running away. Speaking of which, there goes Lucetta, there goes Rodriguez. Miles is on my inside. I like this right hand side because it gives the inside to this next right hander, but I lifted and let Miles go through. I would have preferred to have one of them in my back pocket to bridge a gap, but I think on the radio at this point I said, and the natural order of the universe is restored, because yeah, that's our starting order, minus Kawabe, of course, who's gone. And yeah, realistically, I think on base it's in the right order. So now this lap, the tyres are up. You can really push this car around here. Push it really hard. You can catch a lot more as you go through corners a little bit more aggressively. You can catch stuff. It really feels good around here on lap 3. Just how far you can push the car, and it's actually really fun. But you can see how I've come out of that crucial corner and I'm 6/10 behind. That's the difference in the technical I wanted to say expertise, but the skill level of those three in front. You can see that's the kind of margin we're talking about. Like, I was pushing pretty hard there. I didn't think I did too much wrong. It's just they did a lot more right. But you can see the reason I worked on that first sector was just to stay enough in the draft so that when this stuff happens and they're all sort of checking up and they're deciding who they want to lead and all the rest of it through the next section, I can catch up. I actually lived through there. Even though I'm 4/10, I wasn't too worried, because after this right hander we got another long straight. where it does have that big check up at the crest of the hill. This is the fastest section on any track in a skippy. As you bottom out here, you'll see if I don't lift, I lifted. I've actually seen, so I thought the top of the skippies was at 215, but I think I saw 216 this week, which was just well beyond the limits of this poor little machine. They usually max out under their own steam downhill at about just over 210, maybe 213 if you're lucky. With draft, you'll get up to the 215 as you bottom out in that last hill, but I'd never seen 216 before, and it's the fastest place we visit. Bathurst comes close down Conrod. You might get a little over 210, maybe 212, something like that in good draft, but no, definitely the fastest section out of any of the circuits we visit, that at least that I can remember. So come down this challenging section. This bit I love once the tyres are up. Fourth gear. Try and get on the gas as early as you can. Triple apexing right-handers there. A lot of fun. I was taking this one in second for a while and opening it up a lot more, but I found it was quicker just through that tight hairpin style left-hander there, just to drop down to first and push the gas nice and early as you approach that apex, push out a bit on exit. Now again, another crucial point for me to be in drafts here, and I actually got a decent run. You can see the delta coming down a bit, or the interval coming down a little bit, so I was really pleased. There's only a couple of places left for me to worry about, because ultimately you just want to be in the draft lottery at the end, and then like I said, I like to pin it and go. For better or worse, I don't play a lot of ducks and drakes in those packs. I think there's too much going on as it is, without trying to overcomplicate things by lifting here and there or doing funny fake off tracks and all the rest of it. I just if I come out on first and there's people behind me, I just pin it and try and get the double draft or the leapfrog back, because the straight is long enough for 2 or 3 cracks at it. Or if I'm behind, I just pin it and go. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like I said, it's a draft lottery in the end. So you see we're lifting here to a great degree. I could have pressed the point and tried and gotten in between there, but I didn't want to. I was happy enough with fourth, and I was, in terms of this point of the race, but I was really focused on getting through these next 2 sectors in the draft if I could. Because you want to be in that draft lottery at the end. Going up to the carousel, another risky venture, both in terms of getting dropped and just getting through alive, because if you fall outside off the top there, you'll survive, but gee, it costs you so much time. An unreasonable amount of time in my view, but yeah, it is what it is. Very interesting history there of that. The reason that carousel is like that is because there was one driver, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, who used to cut that corner so much that it dug ruts, and they eventually, everyone started doing it, and the ruts got bigger and bigger, so they just paved them and made it a feature of the circuit. Anyway, you can see, look, I'm out to 4/10, 5/10. For some reason this section, and I did work on it as in so much as I could. I don't know why I grabbed third gear there. It's a fourth gear right-hander, jeepers. And you can see how much time it costs me. Normally I do it in fourth. You can see they're just pulling away. So much skill, and I just don't have the talent to keep up. Russell's struggling behind me too. I've just got a whisper of draft still. And then I do that. That's okay. You can see just how hard I'm pushing. It did cost me a little, and then I stuffed that up royally. Turned in way too early, had to lift. And I am still in draft just. But you can see this is essentially a straight, and I am not catching. This one here, too wide. Carried too much speed through there. Didn't set it up well, and I'm at 9/10 and dropping like a stone. I don't know what it is that I do, or perhaps what they do way better, but I'm just, yeah, and you can see I'm out of draft. Oh, Gonski. I'm hoping it checks up a bit here. I'm hoping above all else. And you see it did a little bit. We got back to about a second. So I'm thinking, oh yeah, this, and then I kiss that apex and I lose it, the 10th that we just gained. Sorry, Russell. Decent enough exit out of there. I see Adam's dropped back a little bit already. Talking to him after, he said he wasn't sure whether to hold back because it might bring us back into it, because he wanted to hold back and then use the draft. And you see he drops back a bit, so I'm straight on the back and I'm in draft here and he's not, so we're gaining a little, not as much as I thought actually, looking at that relative. Here comes Russell. We only gained a 10th. We didn't get, and then he pulls over. I'm going, oh, Russell. So I tried to tuck him behind. Russell got the draft, and I pull out again. And you see we're getting closer. We're getting closer. We're down to about just over half a second. They're teasing us. We're tantalizingly close, but we're not in the party. About here is where you need to be in the party, and it's really only a party of 2 and a party of 3 in front. Maitre G's seated the front 3 at a different table. Oh, that was sketchy through there. We're coming in. It's way too late for us to be joining the party, but there's plenty going on in front. They're 3 wide momentarily, 2 wide into the last quarter. Can we get it done? Oh my, oh, what the? Oh, can I tell you? I laughed just as much when it happened the first time round. I think I said over the radio, did we actually finish the race then? It was pretty funny. Yeah. It was an interesting finish to the race. We'll have a look in a sec. Let's actually let's go back and have a look. We'll go back. Hang on. We'll go back here. Alright, so let's go rear chase here. Oh no, far chase. That'll do it. Nah, far chase. Yeah, chase will do. So you can see Russell and I are we're kind of, so that was the first bit. Yeah, see, I went too narrow. I was worried that I did take the wrong line here. You can see I went too narrow into this corner, trying to leave room, but then I kiss the curb and it comes out, pushes me wide. Oh, we might have had a little netcode there, or maybe I just gave Russell the fright of his life. Sorry, Russell. And then, as we're coming in, they're 2 by 2. Adam looks to come underneath with the extra run, but that leaves him on the outside for the next corner. Rodriguez there looks as though he kisses that next one and pushes wide. That essentially closes the door on Adam because Manu's forced to go wide. And then as we come around the corner, Adam trying the over-under. It looks like it's going to open up for him. What happened there? I thought he was going to open up for him there. Does he just get on the gas and push wide? If he holds it underneath there, he might get that, because I actually don't know where the line is. But yeah, and anyway, and then the front 2 come together, and the front 3 come together, and the front 4 come together, and then Russell picked, just continued right there. Oh, I'll go right, I'll go right, I'll go right. Then everything just goes right and into the wall. Oh, that's funny. I mean, you know, if we're not playing for sheep stations, really. That's funny. Oh dear. After all that, it comes down to that. Yeah, okay. I gotta say, I did have a good laugh at that one. I enjoyed that finish. Anyway, let's check out the race results. If they'll come up. You're gonna come up? There we go, round 10. Season 3 2022, the Nordschleife for this tilt we're doing at the Skip Barber season. Rodriguez got it on the line, 6 100s ahead of Lucetta, Adam Miles, myself in P4, and Russell Clark, who again, look, Russell's done well here. He's put in the work and he's a good pace. But the class of the field clearly up the front in Rodriguez, Lucetta, and Miles. Russell and I think both drove pretty well to hang on and be there and thereabouts at the end. You could see just though when the wick got turned up, the difference in quality. But to finish within a second after all that, after about, what's it, about 60, 70 kilometres of racing around here was pretty satisfying. Sean Doyle did really well there, actually. He's up, what's he up, 6 positions there. And Dominic Schmidt down there in P9, he's up 8 positions as the biggest movers in the field. But Sean and Darren, 2 Aussie car guys, and 7th and 8th in that one. They've done pretty well. Kawabe, unfortunately, all the way down there in P14 ahead of the Wildlife Warrior there, Ryan Chenoweth for Goose Juice Racing. Yeah, but yeah, interesting one. I got to tell you, I did get a good laugh out of that one. But let's go check out what that did for us in terms of points and stuff. Just missed out on the 200 points, but because I got a few more than 200 in some other races, it sort of all balances out. Bit of I rating. That accident at the end cost us a safety rating, but I got a laugh out of it. I don't really mind. It was fun. So yeah, 196 points. Look, I've got another race up my sleeve. I might do the warm-up race for SNL tonight. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Now, that leaves us with a point score. Now, 1,600 was the goal. Just cracked 1,700 with 2 weeks to go. So, and I've still got some points I can gain here or there. But, yeah, 1,700 points. That point score last season gets you 5th, which is our stretch goal in the top 5. You can see my chief sparring partner in Vasco Swarovski hot on my tail. He's got probably 2 races in him tonight, which will level us out at 34 races each. And there's some big points on offer tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if we hit the 5K mark in terms of strength of field. So yeah, that's tempting maybe to try and grab some more points for me as well. So we'll see. So Rodriguez on top, Perez not racing this week, and Rodriguez grabbing some great points. So I think he's the obvious threat at the moment, but Lucetta with 7 races. He's already ahead of me with 1709. Won't take much for Lucetta in the last, well, he's got 3 weeks left really if you consider SNL tonight. I think Lucetta's the real threat in terms of points overall, although he's probably not going to get too many more tonight. He scored well last night, got about 250. So yeah, so those are the front 3. Now, in terms of our quest for P5 or top 5, Vasco and Adam Miles, who's got a couple of lazy rounds to drop. Not lazy, but low scores to drop. He's a real threat in the last couple of weeks. Frattini's a bit of a dark horse as well. I know he's got 8 races, but, there's some low scores in that. And if he does well, I don't think he's raced much here this week or with much success. But, you're in the draft lottery and you roll the dice at the end of the big one. You never know where you end up. So plenty still on offer in the last 2 and a bit weeks as we round out the season. All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us once again. Looking forward to rounding out the season and with the last couple of weeks. So check us out on YouTube with all the SNL replays and all the rest of it. Hit like, subscribe, thumbs up, all that sort of stuff. It really does help us. Check us out on the Twitch channel as well on a Sunday night. Top Split TV on Twitch is where we do the Sunday Night Lights broadcast. Of course, 9:15 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, which is GMT plus 10 at the moment. So otherwise, folks, the community, the Discord community is where you'll find all the SNL stuff regularly with the championships and all that sort of talk around it. But otherwise, folks, thank you for joining us. As always, it is much appreciated. Like I said, like, thumbs up, subscribe, all those things in those places. It really does help us get the good word about the Skippy stuff out and about, and it is much appreciated. But until next time, folks, I'm Alex McKellar, and I'll say ciao for now.